This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so today's topic, we are going to talk about monitoring online instruction remotely. And Chris talked about some reports, so I am going to go a little bit into more of those reports and give you some insight. And hopefully, Chris, I'll be able to kind of show you what assignments you have assigned as well. Um, so just if I know GoToMeeting is probably a new platform, and thanks again for being willing to switch the platform. I appreciate that. So this is just a screenshot of the platform. Down here at the bottom is the mic and the camera highlighted here in like a teal blue. And then there is a chat box next to the folks if you want to. With such a small group, please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask a question as we go along. Or you can also type in the chat box. You can see Susan gave you a nice shout out, Chris, in the chat box already. The session is going to be recorded, but I will also let you know that there is this little camera icon over here on the right-hand side. And so if there's anything on a screen that you want to take a screenshot of, all you got to do is click on that little camera and it will take a screenshot and save it on your desktop. Okay. All right. So we're going to get going here. Well, maybe. Hang on. Again, I already went over that. So our agenda today is key metrics for students involved in the iReady online learning. Just going to review some of those key metrics, how to monitor students who are working online, options for intervening when students are struggling, and then we'll have some question and answer time to wrap us up. So the first thing is, what are those key metrics? So right now, when you are actually in a school building, our key metric is 45 minutes per week per subject. Since we are, working remotely, we have increased that up to 90 minutes. And the only thing I say is take into consideration other things that you are assigning as well with that. We are looking for students to have a passing rate for lessons at 67%. Many times, a lot of the questions have, the quizzes have like 6 questions, so we're looking for 4 out of the 6 for the kids to get that. We are also tracking year-to-date lessons passed. So we're looking for those, how many lessons have they taken, and we're looking for that to be at a 70%. So if they've taken, let's say, 10 lessons and they've passed 80 so far, they're meeting that expectation of 70% or higher. And then we encourage you to assign lessons in advance. At the beginning, we were having a little bit of a lag on that, but I think that our system has been able to keep up with us now. When we first started getting everybody in, it took a minute, but it's still good to assign lessons in advance. Just wanted to review what the dashboard looks like from a teacher assigned lesson view. So this is what the students see when they log in. They're going to see the assigned lessons that you have for the students, their to do. Down on the bottom, they'll have a tab for their progress. They can see all the lessons that they've taken and their passing rate. Once you go into the school year, and I'm going to talk a little bit about where you're at now, but also what it might look like when you go into the school year. When you go into the school year, the diagnostic results will also be listed there. So families can see their students' progress as well. The My Stuff is where they get to earn the coins and they can change their background and play some games. And then there's learning games, and those are the math learning games. Right now, that's only for K-5, with hope that will go. Now, this is what it looks like when you go into the school year, okay? On the left-hand side, it will have teacher assigned, and then on the right-hand side, it will have My Path. And that's based on their diagnostic and what lessons the students have been assigned based on how they performed on their diagnostic. So in the school year, you'll have to be specific when the kids go work on it. Do you want them working on their My Path lessons or their teacher assigned lessons? Okay. Closed reading is also available, but that's only for grades 2 through 5. All right. So I just wanted to do a quick little review of Teachers Assigned versus MyPath. And my purpose is just so that you kind of know what you're working with now, but then how that shifts a little bit when you go into the fall. Okay, so the Teacher Assigned, you actually have to assign the lessons to the students, but with the MyPath, they're going to be automatically generated. So when you go into the school year and school's just starting, if you don't want to stress about assigning lessons right away, we actually encourage you not to stress about that. Let the kids take the diagnostic and let them work through their MyPath right then. Okay, because that's going to really start to focus on filling in some learning gaps that we know kiddos are going to have coming back into the school year. Right now, teacher assigned lessons can be assigned 10 lessons for each subject. With the MyPath, you're going to have 20 lessons automatically populated in a student's queue. Okay. In the teacher assigned, the lessons are ordered by the due date. So you get to determine which lesson in the order that they take them in. In the MyPath, they're going to be sequenced by our program so that each lesson builds upon itself. From a student view, right now, they get to choose which lesson. They'll see the 2 to 5 lessons on their screen and they could choose. In the MyPath, they have to go in the lessons in order, so they'll only see one lesson at a time. Okay. With the teacher assigned, the idea is that you're assigning lessons to differentiate based on the student need or to support on-grade level content during the COVID. In the MyPath, the lesson sequence appears to the student will address a student's lowest performing domain based on their diagnostic. Okay, so it's very prescribed. If they are low in numbers and operations, they're going to get questions first or lessons first in numbers and operations. Okay, where right now you're looking at, okay, here's a standard I want to teach, here's a lesson I'm assigning. In the teacher assigned, the students have choice. Grades K2 are going to see 2 lessons at a time, and grades 3-8 are going to be able to see 5 lessons at a time. And then if a student does not pass a lesson 2 times, the student gets to keep moving on, okay, into the next lesson. Whereas in the MyPath, they're only going to see that 1 lesson at a time. And if they do not pass 2 consecutive lessons in a domain, the domain automatically shuts off and they won't get lessons in that domain unless you turn the domain back on. Welcome, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are
in
you?
a 3rd grade virtual circle, so I tried to get in and out early enough, but it did not work.
No worries. We just got started and I am recording, so
Hey,
glad
Jody.
you could join us. Yeah.
Jody, just a question, and if you want me to wait for questions till after you're done, but you told me something about you could do a screenshot, and I can't see on my view. I don't see a camera where I can do a screenshot.
Let me go
Are you in the web
back.
browser or do you have the app?
Web browser.
I don't think it's in the web browser.
Okay, that's no problem. I know you're recording it, but I just was wondering if there was something I was missing. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you see the screen, then there is over to the right-hand side where you can make your screen bigger. There's a plus and a minus, and then the camera above it. Do you not see that?
Not on the desktop.
Okay, well, good to know. Sorry about that. I get excited to point something out, and then you can't even do it if
Yeah.
you're not using the right app.
No, you just have an ability to for your own microphone and stuff, but that's okay. I can always look it over again. So.
Okay. Great. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to monitor students online. So the first report that we have, and this is our very original report that we've had out, is our online instruction class report. And what this is you can, up here on the top, in this orange dot rectangle, you can change the date range to current week, last week, and you can also do a custom range if you're looking to see how your students. So if it's Monday, I might want to change that to last week to see how my kids were, how much they were on last week. If it's at the end of this week, then I might keep it at current week. You're also over to the right-hand side going to see that year-to-date passing rate. So remember, our data and all our research shows that students grow in their learning when they have at least 45 minutes on iReady lessons a week per subject, as well as a 70% passing rate total for lessons taken. So we're looking at those pieces of data in conjunction with each other to say those are the things that help students grow. Okay, so that's going to tell you how many kids you have meeting those thresholds. Then the one over to the left of it is last month. So the one to the right is year to date. Maybe I just want to look at last month. How are my students doing? Especially like you just started out. So over the last month, what is their passing rate right now? All right, again, 45 to 90 minutes per subject per week, and that 70 to 100% lesson passing rate. Over to the left-hand side is going to give you the bar graphs. And so ideally, you're looking for your kids to be in that 30 to 49 and 50 plus bars. So green, they'll show up green. Okay.
Hi, is there any way that you can make the screen larger so that those of us who are already wearing glasses could see it? I'm
Yeah.
down on the presentation trying to see it.
Yeah, if you do Control Plus, I believe that you can make your screen bigger. It's already looks pretty large on mine right now, so I think it's on your end if you do Control Plus. Nate, you want to chime in here?
Yeah, Control Plus will only make the words, not the video.
Right.
But are you on, Vicky, are you looking in the browser or did you download the app?
I'm in the browser.
All right, at the top of the browser, you see where all our pictures and name initials are. There's
Yes.
a little bar. You can just click that bar and sort of scale it upwards. Right below, between the names and the video presentation. That'll make your screen bigger.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Because I want to see what she's presenting. I see the box words, and I just want a close up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 dots in the top right corner. If you click that, you can do full screen, which will give you even more space.
Okay.
Thank you,
Perfect.
Nate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I am also going to go live after this and model it live as well. Okay, in our demo site. All right. So let's think about this teacher assigned and MyPath. When you are in your report and you go to a student's page, you can do a drop down. It will say current and past lessons, upcoming lessons, and then there's a little drop down here and you can do iReady assigned or teacher assigned. Okay, so right now you're only going to have teacher assigned, so you would say, what are the teacher assigned? Right now, this report is really based on an individual student, okay? But I'm going to show you a new report that we just came out with a couple of weeks ago after I show you this. This is showing you a student screen and that how families can monitor as well. So if you look here, this is what the students are seeing. So you not only can see how much time they spent on task, but they have time spent on task as well and how many lessons they have passed. And then we do a little fun competition of just what is the lesson streak passed in a row. Okay. And then, oops, I somehow went really far there. Okay, so there's that one. Sorry about that. And then if you go into the My Progress, this is what I was talking about where they can see the lesson listed, the date they completed it, and the percentage that they received. on that lesson. Okay, so if I'm looking at this report, I might want to look at it and think about what are some signs that students are struggling with these online lessons. So the first thing that I might look at for that is, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm only going to tell you this because I want to give you some context for the fall. So if a student is taking a MyPath lesson and they're struggling, they're automatically going to get alerts on this report. So you're going to get these red stop sign and the yield sign here. And that's telling you anytime you see the red stop sign in the MyPath lessons, it means we shut off a student's domain and we're saying, help teacher, I need some intervention. I'm not understanding something with this lesson. Okay, now you can intervene with the student and then turn that back on so that the student doesn't miss out on lessons in that domain. The yellow caution sign is just saying they've failed 2 lessons in a row. We're giving them their 3rd lesson. Same domain, different lesson. Beware, they may still be struggling. And if they fail another lesson the 4th time, then we are going to shut it off. All right. Now it looks different, and this is why I want to point this out. It looks different for you right now in the teacher assigned. Okay. This is just showing you an example of Cooper. I clicked on his name. He actually has a couple domains shut off, so I'm definitely going to want to intervene. And then I can come down here and I can see what lessons he hasn't passed, and then I can turn that domain on. Not spending a lot of time on that because you're not in that phase yet. Teacher assigned looks different. So here, if it is a signed lesson, in purple underneath the lesson, it's going to say teacher assigned. Okay. So I have the 2 teacher assigned lessons. So I have to look at it a little differently because no domains get shut off. We don't give you alerts in this. So now I actually have to look at it and say, all right, well, they passed this first lesson and the second lesson is in progress. So I don't really know if they're struggling yet, but I'm going to keep an eye out and make sure that they pass the second one. Okay. So when they're in progress, you won't know until they complete the lesson. All right. So what are some ways if I find that my students are struggling with those online lessons, what are some things that I can do? Well, in the fall, when you take the diagnostic and you have the MyPath lessons, you can turn the domain back on after you intervene. Right now, you could do a virtual conference. So Chris, you shared a great example where you were doing the lesson with the students and you were having them either type in the chat or hold up their fingers with the answers. You could do something like that with your students if you realize that they are failing the lesson. And the next report I'm going to show you will show you how you can see how students performed on that specific lesson. It's not by individual student. You can do it by lesson and see all the kids that have taken it, and you can group kids and you could say, maybe I'm going to host a session, a 30-minute session with these 6 kids because I see they're struggling with that lesson. Okay. Assign a prerequisite lesson. So Nate did share some feedback with me that you guys filled out on the Google Doc, and one of them was, maybe the lessons are, grade level lessons are too difficult. And so anytime you feel like the grade level lesson is too difficult, that's where we would say, take a step back and maybe look to assign a prerequisite lesson. So that we're easing and scaffolding the student into their grade level content. Okay. So again, MyPath, just showing you a quick example because you don't have it yet, but if I were to turn the domain on, you have the authority to turn that on. The only thing we suggest is that you try to intervene first to find out what was going on and why the student wasn't understanding the skill. Okay.
I've had a couple teachers, Jody,
Yeah.
let me know that domains have turned off while they were students were working on it. I was under the assumption maybe when they failed it a couple times, like a quiz, they didn't hit the 67%. Maybe it shut it off.
I would love for you to, if you can, try to capture a screenshot of that and send it to Danielle or I, Nate, because my understanding is none of your kids took the diagnostic, correct?
No.
So no teacher assigned lessons should be having domain shut off.
Okay.
So if you
All
could
right.
try to capture that and we could dig deeper in behind our scenes to see what's going on there,
Okay.
that would be great. Okay.
Nate,
Yeah.
sorry, this is Danielle. I'm pretty sure Mr. Hinkleman already sent you that, a screenshot of that occurring.
That was a different issue with
Okay,
the
sorry.
progress. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was the pause, right?
Yeah.
Nate, was that the pause? Yep.
Yeah.
And so I believe Nate is working with Danielle, our account manager, on that. But the quick response to that, Danielle, just to let you know, is our system will, since we track time on task, if a student isn't actually on task, we stop tracking the time. So if they haven't pressed a button, we'll kind of ask, are you still there? And so that's where I think the pause screen is coming in. But we were going to send it into our tech to seek that out a little more. All right, so you also have the option of, if you're going to do a virtual conference, you can explore resources. And within those resources, you can look at our tools for instruction too. So we have those PDF mini lessons that you can use as well during those virtual conference to support teaching the lessons, the skills, concepts. All right, so I'm going to give an example of what I mean by assigning a prerequisite lesson. So if I look here on this example, I can see that I have a student who didn't pass practice subtraction using number lines part 1 and understand subtraction using number lines part 2. Okay, so I'm going to go into the lessons and I'm going to pull up and see what lessons do we have for number lines. And knowing that, now I see there's understand number lines, there's understand addition using number lines, and then practice addition using number lines. So maybe my students need those lessons, prerequisite lessons, before they can understand how to do subtraction using the number lines. So first of all, we need to make sure they understand number lines. Okay, so that's what I mean by the prerequisite. So that's our original report, I guess I would say. Now, within the last couple of weeks, we published a new report called our Personalized Instruction Report. This was created based on feedback from educators like yourself that wanted a more detailed report without having to go into each individual student. This one I won't be able to show you live, only because it is not in the demo site yet. So I have some screenshots here of what this looks like. So if I'm looking here, again, I can do the date range up at the top. The subject, I can drop it down from math to reading right here. And then that date range is available again. That first column are going to be my students. And I can sort that. So anytime you see the little caret arrows, you can sort. And then here I'm going to see lessons. And again, that has the little search icon. So you can type in a lesson if you're looking for a specific lesson. So you can see by lesson. You can also sort here by domain. There's going to be the level of lesson. And then there's going to be this passed and score. So I could maybe look here and say, okay, which kids have not passed? sort them, and then what lessons haven't they passed? And am I seeing a theme here that I might want to address during one of my virtual conferences? You will also be able to see the time on task, whether they completed it or didn't start it yet or are in progress. So now I'm seeing my whole class, whereas before I kind of had to look at each individual. And then over here, you can see who it was assigned by. Okay, so was it assigned by iReady because it was in their path? Or was it assigned by me, the teacher? Or was it assigned maybe by a resource room teacher or another teacher?
Can I point out a handy?
Yes, please.
In problem solving, one of the things we use this screen for when we're getting a pause screen is we use this to live monitor students as they were actually in the program. So while it didn't update automatically, we just kept hitting refresh every 30 seconds or so, and you'll see those total minutes up. You'll see the progression, and if they finish, you'll see their score pop up. So you can use it sort of as a live monitoring tool as well, especially when you're in the classroom.
Excellent, Nate. Thank you for adding that. And please jump in and add anywhere. Like I said, this is new and we don't have it in our demo site, so I can't do a whole lot except for look at screenshots. So I love that you can add value to this session of what you are actually doing with it. I appreciate that. Okay. So some things that you can do with this is you can check the students' performance on lessons they completed in the prior 2 weeks. You can identify students who are working in similar levels and domains. You can see the status of teacher assigned lessons that are available to students. So Chris, that kind of goes back, you'll be able to see what teacher assigned lessons you have assigned to your students and the status, whether they started it, they're in progress, or they've completed it. And then you'll be able to see which students are struggling with before there's even an alert, and that comes with the MyPath is those alerts, but this report will support that. Okay. So I wanted to point out a few resources for you with this report. So in iReady Central, which I'll walk through how to get there again in a minute. If you type in the search bar, personalized instruction report, there are going to be 3 resources for you to click on. The first one is a cheat sheet, which is just points out everything that was on that screen, my screen previously. Then there's going to be a data analysis guide for using the personalized instruction report. And then just how do you get the most out of online instruction, some additional support for that. Okay, so this is what the cheat sheet looks like. And then again, here is that data analysis. How do you look at it? Performance on a given lesson, narrowing your focus. Okay, so before we get to questions real quick, let me just go live and show you where those 2 reports are. It sounds like you probably already know it, but make sure I do my due diligence. Okay, so when I go into reports, I'm going to come down to instruction over to the left-hand side. And then I'm going to have online instruction here. And then you're going to have the personalized instruction report before learning games. Okay. I don't have it. Again, demo site not up yet and running with the report. And then to get to the iReady Central, which if you have not checked out, I highly recommend. It's a wealth of information. You're going to go to the Help tab, scroll down. There will be a green rectangle that says Explore iReady Central about halfway down. Click on that. And then over here on the left-hand side is probably one of my favorite tabs is the frequently asked questions. And lots of answers there. It's kind of organized topic.
And whether you like reading or video, there's a sort of a plethora of all of that in there. So whichever
Yes.
one you use like the best, there's options.
Yep, definitely. Find Ideas and More is also a great place to go. Here is where teachers actually submit their ideas and share. So folks that have been with us for years have come up with some really interesting ideas. And I love, so, you know, Pluri and Snarg are kind of for the younger grades icons. And here's one where surprise students with video messages from Pluri and Snark. So you could, for the younger grades, help motivate them to end strong and use these little messages. So you just click on it and then there will be a little, they get excited. Did you guys hear that?
No.
Okay, so it was like 2 seconds. I highly recommend you at least go in there and play that, because it talked basically that they're working hard at home and encourage them to continue to do it and use their iReady lessons. So if you're trying to promote some motivation, you can do that. And there's actually 8 videos. So, okay. What questions do you have? Or Nate, what else do you want to add to today's session?
I think there's a plethora
One
of things.
question. I have a question. While Nate's thinking about his, I had a couple of parents ask me about summer program, and I reached out to my principal, who said, and Miss Smith, you could probably chime in too on this. I guess they're trying to develop something. I don't know if there is something yet. But I was just the question I had was, is this going to be available to students throughout the summer? So, for example, if I wanted to continue, because I talked to my kids and I spoke before I actually asked knew the information. I wanted to be able to assign lessons throughout the summer. I figured it would just give them more practice in using this, and it would give me more practice in using it. I don't know. I know a lot of people wouldn't do that necessarily, but I just want to know if is it going to stay on along with Clever, so obviously kids can continue to access with the iReady and everything else, all the other apps that are available through Clever. I don't know when Lexia is going to be taken up. I know a lot of kids still use that, even kids who don't show up to class. They're still on Lexia and a few other apps that I have already for them. So my question one is it going to be available to them? And is there a summer version of something where MyPath would, I know we haven't done the assessment, and maybe MyPath can't do anything until the initial assessment is done, but is there something they can do while we're still kind of testing this program out?
So
Yeah,
first of all, Nate, the question has come up several times among the staff. Are the students going to be able to use the laptops this summer?
Yeah,
Do
so
you
to
know?
answer the full spectrum of things is, yes, we plan on letting this be a summer program for
Cool.
anyone who wants to use it. Students will be keeping the laptops throughout the summer, and then in the fall, if by some chance we don't go back to school early enough, I know they're working on trying to make the computers more one-to-one. So hopefully we'll have more computers, but that's not a guarantee. We will be getting with you next week about how the summer program will roll. I'm meeting with the rest of the iReady team later this week to discuss the transition, because right now we're on the free program. We'll be transitioning to the paid program, and we're trying to be very cognitive of any data loss that might happen. So we don't want you to go ahead and start setting assignments up now and then everything gets wiped, because we're basically starting with a new setup. So it will be available over the summer. Next week, as early as possible, we'll get you the information so you can be familiar with the process and what dates things will switch over. And I'll add into that as well when programs like Lexia will stop being available. So we'll know
So
all
the
that as
student,
early as possible
okay,
next week,
so I
maybe
just, because
Friday.
I'm sorry, there've been a lot of questions. So the laptop students will still be able to use Clever and log in during the summer, just to clarify, correct?
Yeah, Clever will absolutely be ready.
Okay.
Just I'm not sure if there will be data loss in between this version of iReady that we're using and the full version that we're purchasing for the district later this month or beginning of next month.
So if, because some other teachers were expressing some interest in iReady, just so if they, let's say they want to learn themselves and maybe try on a few guinea pigs, some of the kids, they could, this summer, the students will have access, all students will have access to laptops using Clever, whether they're doing iReady or not, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I keep asking because I want to make sure I'm sending the right message. There've been a lot of questions about that
As,
because
as,
some teachers want to keep going.
as of right now, there's no plan to take we're not school's over, everybody come bring the laptops back. They'll keep those until the fall.
But they won't be turned off. That's what teachers were afraid of. They'd be,
No.
disabled. No. Okay. All right. Thank you. So that's great. So then the kids could continue with iReady. That's a great question.
Yes.
And Ms. Smith, just so you know, the title people have reached out to me and joined us for me during this week with my kids and to see how iReady was working. So that was kind of fun. So there is some interest for even with
Yeah,
people who aren't doing it right now.
exactly. That's what I said. So they want to try out on some guinea pigs, some of the kids, and so I think it's great. I really like it, and I'm happy to see that. So good. That's great.
Another point I'd like to reiterate with, and then Jody can pipe in and fill it in more, is I know there was some concern there with assigning the lessons. Not every single domain it can be found. So I know for a fact, like a first grade teacher trying to find work with time, like in the half hour, an hour, that domain isn't in iReady. iReady is not going to be used. The portion that we have isn't going to be used for a complete curriculum replaceal. This is a support system. So for now and then over the summer,
Mhm.
it should be used to support older concepts, and you might find little domains that you're looking for. And then in the fall, you'll be moving forward with the same curriculums that you've had as your main curriculum, but this should be used as a strong support system, maybe for the homework and things like that, um, to help support whatever it is that you're teaching.
Yep, that's exactly it. So one of the things, it was never meant to be a full curriculum, right? It's meant to support and really help either challenge students who are higher and need to be pushed or fill in gaps and help provide some differentiation. One of the things, if you haven't had a chance, one of the things I highly recommend is that you look at our correlation chart. So if I'm in my iReady dashboard and I go to my help tab up at the top, I scroll down and there's going to be a Michigan math correlations chart and a Michigan reading correlation chart. And that will list the standards for Michigan, and then it will give you the lessons that we do have available to support those standards. Okay.
But we cover. I know there was a question also. We do cover the standards in iReady across the board, don't we? In regular general, the regular iReady, because I know a principal was asking about that, so I'm going to ask on her behalf. So the standard.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be everything that's in the iReady and what's in the iReady diagnostic. It correlates to like what was in NWA. Cover everything that needs to be covered. But when you're going in looking to assign students certain standards, you might find gaps in the standards because it's not a complete curriculum, right? So the
Right.
testing will cover everything, but the assignments that you're trying to give to the students, there may be a certain domain you want to cover, and it's not there for them.
Well, it's
Right.
been
So
my
the
experience.
example. Go
It's
ahead.
been my experience is that iReady leverages the high stakes standards and the ones where the kids will get the most bang for the buck. And those are the ones that we need to be focusing on. Every single standard, we don't need to spend hours and hours and time on that anyway. So like the prerequisite, can't even say it, whatever it is they need to know beforehand. Not even say that.
I get tongue tied too. So
Yes. So anyway, so I don't think that it is supplemental. And so the misconception I think some teachers have is like, I'm going to plug the kids in every single day and that'll cover all the standards. That is not the case at all. That's not the purpose of
No.
iReady. Okay, I want to put that out there.
If I could chime in just for a second. So this week what I did, Vicki, was I took like the broad spectrum standards, for example, like key details. And I'll let you know how it's working. Next week if we can do this again. But what I did is I chose that scale because that transcends from first grade all the way up. And I assign, my newcomers, kindergarten skills, first grade, so on and so forth for my specified reading group. So that's how I'm attacking it to see how they like it. I mean, this is all like, just try. So my kids are loving it. The ones that, they're loving it. And then what I will do is like find some worksheets so that I'm seeing that it's transcending down from the iReady program to a worksheet. And so far, so good. Is it the end all be all? No, this is an enhancement. So, I mean, this week, in reading, I did all 4 or all 5 areas. So phonics, phonemic awareness, comprehension, and obviously different skills as my higher reading groups. But although I teach 3rd grade, I'm teaching kindergarten through 3rd grade, and as we all do. And then with the math, I tried to pick a skill that would transcend and build. So like some of those foundational skills that I know that they're lacking, to try to see if iReady can boost that. That's how I'm using it, if that helps.
Perfect. Right. I'm just
I
asking
think that's excellent.
somebody else. So yes, I am a big fan of iReady. Used it before. I just love it from elementary through middle school. So a lot.
It's fun.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they're having some fun with it, which is great.
Jody, there's a question if you can show how to put the students in groups again. And
Yeah.
we need to set that up real quick. I'd like to answer the question right before it about the fall.
Yes.
One thing everybody needs to keep in mind is we're working sort of on a liquid system still, on direction of MDE. So if we go back to school full force in the fall with just like we left, then they'll probably reclaim the Chromebooks, and then using this as homework probably won't be a thing. There's discussion on doing like a 50-50 work week where they come in 2 days a week and, or not, then they'll probably keep the Chromebooks. Or in any case where we have to do online learning strictly, then that's where we'll look at trying to get one-to-one Chromebooks, and they'll keep the ones they have. So exactly how this will be used in the fall, definitely for diagnostics if we get them in the classroom at all. And then how we sort of proceed going that, we're going to sort of be flexible on based on what the state will let us do.
Yeah. And a lot of folks that districts use it for like they'll have workstations or centers or workshop time. And when a teacher is pulling back a small group, a group of kids can get on their Chromebooks and work on it. And then while other kids are doing a different activity, and then they, kind of swap. So definitely ways that we could, talk through the different ways that I've seen schools use it.
That's how
during
I
the school
used it. That's how I used it. I did stations and then did the, but no program's going to replace the teacher. And
Correct.
that out pretty quickly with this pandemic. So,
well, and I will tell you that we never wanted to, and that's why in the MyPath we actually shut the domains off as an alert for the teacher to say you got to intervene. They're having trouble because we built that in because we never wanted it to replace the teacher. So, okay, Susan, your question about the putting kids in a group. Okay, so In the regular school year, after your kids take the diagnostic, you'll get a report, an instructional grouping report. And so you'll be able to see kids put in a group. And Danielle, hang on, I'll get back to you on that. And then, but if you wanted to, like, let's say you've got a group of kids that you want to just kind of follow and have in their own separate report group, you can do that from your rosters page. So you can click on rosters up at the top here. And then you will see your students. And then over to the right-hand side, it says actions with a little drop-down arrow. And then you drop that down and you can add a report group here. And you could put like 5 students in a group, or if you have Title I folks and you want to put the kids that they're seeing, and then you can just print a report for them if they don't have full access, you could do that as well. I'm hoping that was what you were looking for. If not, can you clarify your question?
Yes, thank you. I did it with some of my kids, and then I totally forgot how to do it. So I just need a refresher.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really useful when you're working with your specialists. When we're working on getting all the specialists, EL support, special ed support in there for like grouping them, so you can put your lower tier WIDA students in,
Good.
tier 2 students. You might have separate groups, separate from what the diagnostics puts them in.
Right.
That's one of the suggestions I made, was to use iReady, not just one criteria when making groups, but iReady provides additional information and insight into the students' performance and abilities. So this is a great tool for that.
Great.
Good.
We have about 5-6 minutes if there's any other questions or inquiries deep into it. I know a lot of people had, again, about the pausing issue. Students were on the computer and it would like say pausing. The only way I found to resolve that so far was to have the students exit all the way out the program and go back in, and then they were able to complete the lessons with no problems. And I'll be talking with the iReady team later this week about that specific, to see if we can. Sometimes there's like a button they hit or a combination that just triggers certain reactions. So if we can figure that out, we'll let you know. But for now, that's a workaround that works.
Well, and something I want to point out is kids will say, well, I already did that part. But at the bottom of every lesson is a progress bar. And within that progress bar, there's those little segment breaks. And if a student doesn't get all the way to one of those segment breaks in the lesson, when they go to log back in, it's going to start them at the very beginning of the lesson.
In covering that, another part I know a couple of teachers had contacted me about that, I'm not sure of, is they had students who they said completed the lesson, but they weren't really notified that they were completed the lesson. I don't know if any of the teachers here have run into that. If you can speak on it more since you experienced it.
No, it's been pretty.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
No, actually, usually the next day, if I assign something, I've been trying to, because I want kids to get feedback, so I've been asking to do it and an assignment, and then I would check back with them the next day to tell them what I'm seeing, or even show them what I'm seeing in my reports that they're doing it, and they're doing a great job. I do have one other question though, and that is, how many assignments can you assign? And the reason I'm asking that is, let's say I wanted to assign over the summer. Let's say I wanted to like once a week assign X amount of lessons, and then the kids could do them in the order of the due date. How many can I actually assign?
Yep. So I'm going to go back to this screen that I think you wanted to take a screenshot of.
Yeah.
So for teacher assigned lessons, you can assign up to 10 lessons at a time per subject. So 10 math and 10 reading. In their My Path, they'll always have 20 in a queue.
Oh. So I can assign 10. But when I'm looking at reports, I'm only seeing 5. 5 that they're working on. Is that correct?
You might have to change the date that you're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good to know.
the date. And
You gotta go
remember,
back.
you're assigning 10, but the kids are only going to see 5 if they're in the older grades. K and 1, they only see 2 at a time on their screen.
Okay.
You don't want to overwhelm them.
Okay.
They're assigned and they're kind of like in the
queue.
but the kids are only seeing them 2 or 5 for the older.
Perfect.
Two things, Jody. One, for the assigned lessons, if they assign a game versus a lesson, does that count as part of the 10? And then I want Jill to chime in because she has a good question about the in progress monitor. A lot of people are seeing.
So in progress means the student is working on the lesson, but they haven't completed it. So you're going to see on your reports in progress, and then you'll be able to see how many minutes they've been in progress on that lesson. And then the other question, Nate,
Jody,
was
my students are saying they are finishing the lesson and it keeps saying in progress. I had a mom email me frantically a bunch of times thinking her kid's going to fail because all his work is saying in progress, even though he's finishing it.
can you do me a favor and send a screenshot or have the mom take a picture of it and send it to Nate?
I have a screenshot of one of the in progress bars that are popping up. It's just trying to figure out why.
But it's like all the lessons are saying that. So my guess would be that the student is going in and they're starting the lesson, but they're never finishing all of them. But Nate, you can have tech look on the back end of that to see.
That's one of the things we're going to discuss Thursday when I talk with them.
If there's something else going on. But typically, if they finish a lesson, it says it's completed. So
The
I'm not
only
sure.
workaround I was saying earlier, Jill, is the only way I found to work around those issues was to have them actually log all the way out.
Okay.
Clever and everything, and then go back in, and then it seems to either pick up wherever it left off or it'll read correctly. And I don't know if that's going to be universally true until I talk to tech, but
Okay, because when I logged on, it shows that he is in progress. And I told Mom, don't worry about it. I can see he's getting on working, but she's swearing that he's finishing it.
Right. A lot of these issues, I expect a lot of tech issues like this too. This is my past experience in the past decade or so of doing these kind of things. It's really hard to do a lot of these problem solvings, and they're home and we're here. And a lot of times it's one little thing that's going on. If we were there with them, we could pick it out just like that. But doing it over a computer, it's really hard to problem solve. So hopefully when we get back in the fall, any issues do totally get eliminated. But I didn't get the answer on the is that part of the 10 or not part of the 10?
Oh, so
Jody.
you can't actually assign games. Games are available for students. You can tell them, go play the match game or go play the Zoom game, but it's not an assigned thing. So it wouldn't be part of the 10. They just have a link on their dashboard that says learning games at the bottom where it says like my progress, my stuff, and it will say learning games. They can go into the learning games to play them.
And can the teachers see that they were like active on games for X amount of minutes or no?
Yes, absolutely. Let me show you. Danielle, what is your question?
Just a couple. One, with Lexia, especially when the students would take this home and do it at home, there would be times as a teacher I would be like, you didn't do this. You're not really on this level. Your brother, sister, somebody else got you to this level. And so there was a special way that you would have to kind of backtrack them. Do teachers have access to that, or is that something that we would then have to reach out to Nate and ask him to do once? I know we're not at that point now because we don't have the diagnostics, but when that diagnostics part comes in and they are like starting to move themselves up, if we realize this is not your work, this is somebody else's, how do we go?
Yes.
like, how do we go about to redirect that?
Yes, you can adjust the lesson sequence.
Okay, so we can like kind of just grab a hold of it and move it backwards if we need to.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
And then the second one, sorry, I knew there was another one. With the answer to the first question, when I was asking about the testing, I just want to get verification. I didn't quite get it back in the chat box. So my understanding is that all of the standards are being tested with the diagnostics assessment. However, there are not lessons to teach all of the standards.
So a clear example of this would be telling time is in first grade, right? But we don't actually have a lesson for telling time until third grade. So if you look at our little correlation chart that I showed you, we don't have a lesson right now created. Let me go here. Oops, I didn't want to go there. I was there already. And I click on math correlation. It doesn't show up. The telling time doesn't show up until the third grade. Another way I can find it is if I go in here and I go to assess and teach, and I go to instruction, and I go to math online instruction, and I go to search for telling time lessons, you will see the first one that appears is in third grade.
Okay, so there might not be a direct correlation for the standards based on the grade, but if it's being
Right.
tested in the diagnostics test, there is a
Yes.
lesson that will correlate to that somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it.
Yes. So like I typed in time and it
Okay.
pops up tell and write time is early third grade.
Okay. I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure that there was a matchup with those, because that was one of the things I was excited about, was that versus Lexia is doing one thing, NWA is doing something different. I like the fact that they were going to then blend together, but I got a little concerned when I thought maybe the test wasn't actually matching what the instruction was. So it is, it's just a matter of where it comes from. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
I was going to show you the games. So
Ms. Sharp
the
had a
game-
question too. Go ahead.
Jody, quick question. I know I could do this.
That's okay.
Do all lessons award tokens upon completion?
That's a really good question that I have actually never been asked.
The only reason I'm asking that is that's my kids are saying yes or no, they have gotten or not gotten. So my elimination of that work in progress or lesson in progress or whatever it's saying is I will ask them, did you receive tokens? And if the answer is no, all of a sudden they're going back in, and I don't know if they're missing that little nub. You know how the progress bar has, and there's that tiny little nub at the end that they're not doing that. But all of a sudden, I'm now getting less of that, and they're like, so it's just it's a question I'm going to throw out there. Maybe that's the indicator, because I like the instructional for teachers, and there's nothing that says, oh, you're complete or Yahoo or something like that. There's nothing there that tells them that. Unless it's just because it's a free version.
I don't think we really have a free version versus we're just
Okay,
giving
well,
everyone
you know what I mean,
access.
like a demo version versus.
No, we're just giving access, and I apologize, but someone keeps pounding on my door. So I'm just kind of. Oh, okay. Just neighbor kids.
It's Amazon.
Important. Yeah. Well, I'm like, okay, it just kept happening. I was trying to ignore it, but then I'm like, oh, maybe there's an emergency. Okay. So let me get back with Nate on that. And Nate, will you share with everyone about does every lesson give tokens? Okay.
Because maybe that could be a indication that you have completed that if you got tokens.
The lesson.
It's like that physical,
my gut tells me yes, but
okay.
I don't want to misspeak either.
Perfect.
So I want to seek to understand the correct answer without misleading you. Okay. All right. So let's go to learning games real quick. So up at the top, if I go to reports, and then I come down to the left-hand side and I go to instruction. Then you're going to have the little learning games. I like to call it a fish icon. It kind of looks like a fish to me. Click on go, and there are going to be a whole nother set of reports for learning games. But to get to them, you have to click on this green Create Export here. Green Create Export. And then here I can see my classes. So for example, if I click into a class, I will see my students listed. And then I'll see the games across the top. And then I will be able to see how much time they've spent in each game. If I kind of hover over, it will give me an idea. I got to click on it. In the past 7 days, the average student has played Hungry Fish for 3 minutes. This is the average score. So Hungry Fish isn't the favorite, but the cupcake one is 21 minutes in the average 7 days. But then I can see each individual student and which one is playing games as well. So that's playtime. If I click over to the right-hand side, I see skills progress. All of our games are aligned to standards. So now I will be able to see my students and the list of standards. And then over here on the left-hand side is a key. And so the darker blues is showing you that the students are displaying understanding of that standard by playing this game. Sometimes displays the skill, not yet displaying the skill. Okay. And then we also do another report called Factors of Learning. And that includes the growth mindset, productive strategy, self-regulation, and confidence. And again, there's a key over here with, are they showing high productive strategy or medium, low? So lots of little fun reports on the games that you can check out. And then if you want to play them and check them out yourself, you come over here to the left-hand side where it says play games, and it will put you into the educator demo for each of the games.
That's in the games, especially over the summer, if you know, assigning them some lessons, a couple lessons a week, but having them report on games. Games is a much easier way to get them to at least turn the computer on, you know, and bait them in there. If you say like just log 10 minutes playing a game, it's not even a lesson, and even, but you'll still have useful information from their games, unlike something like you know, ABCYA or whatever else they go to play games on, educational or not. All right. And then I'm going to answer these last couple questions too.
Yeah, can you
or and then
Chris,
go ahead.
Nate, you want to answer this one about the operating systems, Chromebooks?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it
I'm
from our
assuming the
standpoint.
questions regards to accessing iReady, and right now the best way to access it is on some kind of computer, a laptop, desktop, the Chromebooks. iReady, there's a app, but I think it's just for the diagnostics. It doesn't work on like iPhones or iPads,
Yeah.
or like Android devices.
It
So
does
when
work on iPads. It's mainly the Android devices right now.
Okay.
that it does work on.
It's not a good. It does work on the iPads. It's not Android compatible right now. It's not a good experience.
I've had people with issues with the iPhone and iPads as well, so we can problem solve that.
Yeah. If you go into iReady Central, there is resources in there to support how to get on all of those devices.
All right. And then the teacher toolbox is another set of device tools that once we do this transition, we'll start getting into the actual teacher toolbox and things that are in that for everybody. I don't know if you can give a quick overview of what's in there, but
Yeah, the teacher toolbox is basically our digital version of math and reading curriculum and writing curriculum. So the math and reading curriculum is K-8, and then the writing is grades 2-5. And you would have access to the textbook, the student pages, workshop activity, math center activities. There's assessments in there. There is, for writing, there's like writing prompts. For reading K1, there's read aloud books in there, and a whole nother set of resources.
If possible, once I meet with the rest of the iReady team Thursday, the curriculum department meets with them. We'll have a lot more answers about going forward in the summer and the fall, and then if at all possible, and I can summarize it all, I'll have that out by the end of the day this Friday, if not by Monday, so you can start talking to your students about how that whole process will go, because I know we're running short on time with students. We don't want to be 2 weeks into summer and then try to say, hey, here's what we want you to do. So we meet Thursday with them. We'll get as much information out as soon as possible after that. And, like I said, I'm always generally on. I'll still be on every day from 2 to 3 this week and next week at the Google Meets link. And we can always hook something else up with Jody if you need it. And go fill out the Survey Monkey.
If you have time, I know you are busy as can be right now, but if you have time and you feel inclined to fill out the Survey Monkey, please feel free. I will even type it into the chat box so you can just click on it rather than type yourself. It will open up in a different browser for you. I appreciate hearing all the positive things. I also appreciate all the questions that you have, and am really enjoying supporting you all and Nate on this new adventure. Feel free to let Nate know what other questions you have, and he can organize another session if need be. Otherwise, I am going to stop the recording because people